crazy.
Yo, what's up, Dakota? How you doing?
I am peachy keen, man. This is the part where we pretend like we weren't talking behind the back scenes there, but I'm doing well. In Colombia right now, just chilling, and in my underwear, doing a podcast with you, and it's hot here, so don't judge me, but I'm doing well. How you doing?
Bro, you're living a life. I'm doing well. I'm out in San Francisco, so weather's all right, but not quite as hot as Colombia, I'm sure. But yeah, it's funny. I always, we do the small talk before the podcast, but now it's like, okay, let's hit record. What are we going to say now? So it is funny. But screw it. Let's get right into the first question. So,
hell yeah.
I was researching a bit of your background before this, obviously, and I've been consuming your content for a while, and I was reading a Time article about you. And I think it said last December only you were starting to scale up your business and really starting to take this seriously. So I'm just curious, how has your life changed in the past year? Walk me through that.
Yeah, it's been surreal at many points. Just for context, I bounced around from a lot of ideas. And the best way I can phrase this is I knew I had potential, but I didn't know where to place it. So I jumped around from Amazon FBA to blogging to drop shipping, flipping iPhones, fixing iPhones, selling on eBay, all that stuff. I just never stuck with it. It just didn't appeal to me, and I wasn't consistent with it, so I failed at it. And yeah, then I found Twitter, and just being introduced to the community on there was life-changing. So I met a lot of great people, hired people as mentors to help me, and man, it just changed my life just having that direction. And I was passionate about talking about my journey and talking about writing and teaching people how to do stuff and learning all the stuff I had to do with my business. But yeah, man, I remember just seeing 10K a month. I was like, oh wow, that's crazy. You make that from online? And then I remember seeing my friend make 50K a month, and I was like, holy shit. And that's when it totally shattered a lot of beliefs of what could be done online and how far you could take it. And then I saw people showing 100K a month, and then 200K and 500K, and then I had a coach that was doing $1 million a month. And just seeing just how many levels there are to this game is it's mind-blowing. And a lot of people just don't understand how far you can take this thing by building an audience online or learning skills. And it's a game changer, man. But yeah, just for the past few months, just when I've reached those marks in my business that I used to be like, holy shit, they're doing those numbers, but then I hit them and I'm like, wow, this is actually achievable. I'm not some genius. I was very consistent with a lot of the principles that were taught to me and I picked up, and I've come to realize a lot of people that you look up to or put on a pedestal, they're not smarter than you, they're not better than you, they're mainly just more consistent, or they've been in the game longer and they've executed on the core principles. So it's been an amazing journey. I'm very grateful to where I've gotten. I'm not where I want to be 100%, but I can appreciate how far I've come. And what's really cool is being able to be that mentor to other people, or to share my journey with other people and inspire them to start that path, because I know how meaningful it's been for me to have others do the same. So to do that for others has been really cool.
That's dope, bro. And it's so true about shattering those beliefs, because when I first kind of started to hear about this online stuff, I wrote on my whiteboard, I remember, back in September. It was actually after I watched a podcast with you and Dan Coe. That's the slippery slope that got me into this. It was on YouTube, less than 1,000 views or something at the time. And I was like, dude, how do people not know about this? This is super valuable stuff. And I remember writing on my whiteboard above my desk, I was like, okay, my goal for the quarter of school from September to December was make your first $500 online. And I was like, that seems so impossible. And then you just keep working at it every day, and then you actually do it, and it's like, whoa. And so I can imagine because still those numbers like 10, 20, 50K to me seem like, wow, like that's ridiculous. But once you just get to those levels, it's like, okay, anybody can do this. I was watching a Chris Williamson podcast the other day, and he was like, it's idiots all the way up. All the way up the ladder on literally anything in politics, in social media, or anything. So hearing that was like, okay, like, if these people can do it, like, why can't I if I'm just consistent? A question I had for you, though, about this is, I feel like once you're consistent, once you figure out how this, like, game works and you just stay with it, how do you avoid, like, hedonic adaptation to where, like, you always need more? Because for me, it's like, I'm already becoming a bit obsessive over, you know, like, followers or likes, and I have to catch myself and be like, how do I detach from this? So I'm curious, like, how you've approached that situation.
Yeah, so it definitely takes some self-awareness, and I don't think everyone is going to develop that as easy as others. So I'll give you an example. So with my ghostwriting agency, I could have taken on more clients. Like, the amount of demand for ghostwriting is absolutely crazy, and I could have taken on so many more clients. But just kind of reflecting on how much work I was doing at the time, and what the goal was. Like, I was thinking, what's the goal for me? And it's freedom, you know? Freedom to live where I want, do what I want, and live life on my terms. So I had the ability to take on more clients, but I was already doing a lot of work, and I was thinking, okay, I can make more money, a lot more money, but then I'm just going to be living to work, and that's not what I want. So I refused a lot of offers. I've referred people to other ghostwriters and gave up a lot of opportunities, and I'm fine with that, because one of the biggest lessons I've learned over and over again is, I've turned it into a tweet, but at the start, to grow, you have to say yes to a lot of opportunities. But to continue to grow, you have to learn to say no, because there's always going to be more opportunities once you make it a little bit. And it's just realizing, okay, what are your values, and where do you want to take this? Why are you even in the business to begin with? And that's where a lot of people get caught up, and they're like, oh, more money, it's more success and all that, and they're fucking miserable. They don't even see their kids or their family, or they just don't have a life, and I don't want that. So I think it was just kind of reflecting. I've always been kind of self-aware. Obviously there's areas I'm not as much, but it's something I work on. And I think just reflecting a lot, journaling, kind of see where your headspace is at, and yeah, just always just being open to how you're feeling and seeing, okay, what's causing this? Why am I not happy? Or yeah, because there's a certain point where you're making a lot of money, but it's just, you don't feel anything. Like, for example, when I made $5 from an affiliate sale for the first time, that was like the first few dollars I made online. That was so meaningful to me. I remember messaging Dan Coe. It's like, dude, I just made $5. Like, really appreciate it. It was so meaningful to me. And then, yeah, I think it was in the summer, I hit 50K in 1 month, and I didn't really feel anything. I was just like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then it's just back to the same shit. So it's just, I think at a certain point you realize, okay, making money isn't all it's cut out to be. Yes, it's very nice, it's very meaningful when it changes your lifestyle, but at a certain point it doesn't change your lifestyle much, and it's just like, oh, it's status symbols at a certain point. And just realizing what kind of game you want to play, that's a huge part of it.
I think that's such a valid insight, because I feel like it could get so addicting. You just see the bank account going up, you see the followers going up, you're like, I want more and more. But that awareness, and I'm sure you got a lot of that from that book, Awareness by DeMello, that you were telling me about. I've gotten through it a bit, but it's an interesting read for sure. But it is interesting when you keep things in perspective and you ask yourself, like, why did I start doing this in the first place? Was it for the money? Because you can make money being an investment banker working 100 hours a week, right? But the reason you're doing it is for freedom. And so, for me at least, I'm so interested in your ghostwriting cohort and learning this game as a stepping stone to that freedom. Like, I don't want my life to be defined by being a ghostwriter, and I'm sure you have other big plans in the future too. So in my mind, it's kind of like this is that stepping stone to financial freedom, geographic freedom, and you're building your own brand at the same time, so then you can pivot down the road. So
100%.
I'm curious because you've been in the ghostwriting game for a year. You're killing it. You're like the biggest in the world. So do you envision yourself sticking with this for the long run, or do you have other plans?
Yeah, so I'm like you, where this is just a stepping stone for me, because at the end of the day, I just want to create content and talk about stuff I find interesting. And at the beginning, you have to become interesting to people to have them be interested in your work. And I mean, ghostwriting was an avenue I went because it just matched with my interests and my skill set. But it was a kind of stepping stone for me, because it's like you got to get the leverage. You know, you got to make money to survive, kind of transition out of the traditional path, and then once you have a bit of money to use as leverage, you can explore different options. I mean, it's not even just the money, but the skill set you learn. So I learned writing, copywriting, branding, just all these different skills, and now I can leverage that into different areas. So right now I'm leveraging that into a cohort with teaching people how to do what I did for an entire year, and that is teaching me a whole new skill set of coaching and launching an offer to my audience, and the marketing behind it, the sales behind it. That teaches me a whole new skill set. So I can take the stuff I learned from the ghostwriting and take the stuff I'm going to learn from the coaching, and then down the line I can do a different offer where maybe I help people scale their coaching offer because of the experience I've learned. So it's just, you got to start with one, and then you use that as leverage, the money and the skills, the knowledge, and then you can apply it to a different area, and then it just compounds on each other. So yeah, it was a means to an end for me. I think that's the correct way to use that term, but it was just a stepping stone, and I'm very grateful I did it. But now, I mean, I've built this big audience, and I mean, I'm thinking back to like, okay, what's meaningful to me? Well, freedom. Like that's my main value, and to help people do what I did to attain my freedom, that being building an audience and learning the skill of ghostwriting, that changed my life. So if I can do that for other people, also make a shit ton of money in the process, fuck yeah, I'm gonna do that. Like, I mean, it's just a no-brainer. It's just a lot more scalable. It's a lot more meaningful to me. I can help more people, make more money. So it's just work less hours too. I mean, at the start it's gonna be a lot, but once I can systemize it, then it'll be a lot better. But yeah, and then maybe down the line I just want to do something else. But it's just like finding the different forms of leverage and then using that. But right now this is very meaningful to me, so I want to do these cohorts for a while. I have ways of scaling this. I'm working on some things, so keep it under the radar for now. But yeah, it's this is definitely, it's cool. It's a nice path I'm enjoying.
It's so interesting, dude, because like a year ago today when you started getting into this, like there's no way you would have imagined like you'd probably be in the situation you're in right now. And it's like, it's that Steve Jobs quote. It's like you can only connect the dots going backwards. You just have to take that next step forwards. And another thing you kind of reminded me of Steve Jobs was like that singularity of focus. And I know Alex Hormozy talks about it a lot too, in terms of like focusing in on one thing, because those other things you tried in the past, like drop shipping or whatever it was, fixing iPhones, like you didn't stick with them. Maybe if you did stick with them, you would have been successful. So I'm curious, like, why do you think this time was different in terms of like building an audience on social media?
Because I liked it. That was the big differentiator. It was something I enjoyed. I didn't know, when I started on Twitter, I didn't know where it was going to go. I legit wrote in a journal, or I have the entry, is like, bought this course for $40, don't know where it's going to go, we'll find out. And I didn't know how I was going to monetize. I didn't really have plans on it, but I was just like, oh, let's just see where this goes. This is interesting, and yeah, dude, it was. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed writing, and I enjoyed sharing ideas. I enjoyed connecting with people, and that was the big differentiator. Is like Naval said, like if work feels like play to you, then you're gonna outperform everybody. Something along those lines. So that's another big thing. Is I always think about, okay, where's your interest and where is their market demand, and then right in the middle, that's where you can monetize quite well.
Exactly, and you can only get to that point by actually exploring your interests. And I feel like putting yourself in situations where new interests might be formed that you didn't even know you had. Like, I've stumbled down this slippery slope of writing online, like, so coincidentally. At this point last year, I was still on the football team in college. And long story short, like, I decided to hang it up, and I backpacked Europe this summer for the first time, like, traveling without my family. And I just got really into journaling, and I started writing a ton. And I wrote like 100 pages in a journal just based on my experience. And some kid on a train, literally a kid from Italy on a train in France, was like, "Are you a writer?" And I'm like, "No, like, what the hell? Like, I'm an athlete." And I was like, "Wait, I'm not an athlete anymore. I could become a writer if I really want to." So he was like, "Dude, I just saw you write on a train for 4 hours straight. Like, you should maybe pursue this." So after that, I decided to type my first newsletter, called it The Weekend Drift, sent it to like 5 family members, and I was like, I have no idea what this is going to turn into, but I'm just going to post one every day, or every week, and just see what happens. And 5 months later, I've kind of stumbled down this slippery slope. Like, now I have Twitter, newsletter, podcast, I'm talking to you. It's like, what the fuck? Shit is crazy.
How'd you find Twitter?
Dude, Dan Co. Well, actually, before that, so this is actually wild. I wanted to tell you about this. I looked back on our Instagram DM because you actually followed me back a little bit ago. And late July this year, I had wrote my first newsletter, The Weekend Drift. And I was like, I had been following you on Instagram for whatever reason. I just like liked what you were saying, but really had no idea like this whole space. And I sent it to you, and I'm like, hey, dude, like, would you mind checking this out and telling me, like, what I could improve? Like, just like an idiot move. Like, so naive. And then after that, I looked you up on YouTube, actually. I'm like, I wonder if this guy has any interviews, podcasts. And the only one I found was you and Dan. And then from there, I, like, really went down the Dan Co. rabbit hole. And then, the rest is history, bro. It's crazy.
Yeah. That was, dude, that podcast was hilarious. I can't believe I shared that at the end. That was fun.
Yo, that was crazy. That's when I'm like, if this guy could figure it out, I think I could figure it out.
That was the moment I knew. I was like, okay, I can never get a job again. I'm all in on this now. It was ridiculous.
I saw that on your Twitter yesterday, too. Like, you said some outlandish shit to somebody. Something about, like, mommy. I don't even know what it was, bro. You might have to explain it.
It was, so Aaron Will said something like, Dakota's my mom or something under some Eddie Kwan's post. Because Eddie Kwan's like, call your mom today and tell her you love her. And then Aaron Will tagged me. He's like, I love you, mom, or something. So I replied back. I'm like, come suckle mama for mama's milk or something. It was so stupid. It's funny because I was laughing so hard typing that, and then Aaron will message me and we're just laughing about it. He's like, you're fucked.
You're like, I could never work a normal job after this again.
Yeah, dude. I'm actually going to I'm going to read out the DMs we sent each other.
It's so funny.
Where does it say? Oh, he sent me a voice message, but I was like, future Dakota is going to look back on me and just be ashamed of how stupid I was. And then, yeah.
Dude, but I think, like, showing that side of that, like, your authentic self, that, like, that's why people connect with you so much and resonate with you. And that's another, like, thing I was actually contemplating yesterday. I went on a long hike with Matt and Mick on Twitter, who's going to be in the cohort. And we've been, like, really pretty good friends over the past couple of weeks. Finally just met him. And we were, like, really reflecting, doing some deep thinking about, like, where we're at right now, where we want to go. And a good mechanism for doing that for me is like smoking a joint once in a while. But after posting it, I was like, fuck, like, should I have posted that? Like, I felt this weird thing, like, okay, maybe it's not socially acceptable, but at the same time, like, then I'd be holding a part of myself back. Like, I want to show my most authentic self out there. So, like, where do you draw the line for yourself?
Yeah, I feel there's two sides to this. So, first off, I think, okay, what is future me gonna think about all the things I've done now? Because I mean, we're young, our brains aren't even fully developed. We get testosterone going through us. Maybe we're just, I don't know, maybe we're stupider than we think. I don't know, but I also think, in the end, I think authenticity wins to a certain degree. Like, but I think sharing stuff like that shows you're human. That's what really resonates with a lot of people, because I mean, everyone, say on Instagram, is just flexing, oh, look how good I am. But if you share a story like, no, I used to be fat, I used to struggle with addiction, I used to struggle with this and that, and I overcame it. But like, you just show you're human, right? And I think by me shit posting and posting stupid stuff like that, it shows I'm human. And I guarantee I probably got some unfollows because of that, but I don't care. Because I think about, okay, who are the people I want to attract to my brand, my profile? And sure, I mean, it might turn off some potential clients or stuff like that, but those aren't people I want to work with anyways. Because this part of me is going to come out regardless, I would imagine, unless I'm being fake my whole life. But, yeah, I think being polarizing is beneficial, especially in today's world where everyone's trying to present this perfect image. So when someone real comes along and they show that they're human, it's refreshing. Like, oh, yes, I like that guy, because that resonates. And but you also got to risk like being polarizing. Like, look at Andrew Tate. It's like 50-50. Donald Trump. I'm not anywhere near that polarizing, but it's a good kind of example of how far you can take it. And like that man, those two guys are either loved or they're hated. And the ones that love them, and they would do pretty much anything for them. So, and sure, you get the people that hate them, but whatever. Because if you're just neutral, if people just see you as neutral, they're not going to read your newsletter. They're not going to buy things from you. They're not going to care about who you are. You're just neutral. So you got to polarize somehow, and you can take it at different degrees. But especially on social media, and as it gets more and more crowded, the ones that lean into their personality, their story, their opinions, those are going to be the ones that are successful.
For sure.
It's like marketing.
Yeah, exactly. There's a quote, it's like, if you try to please everybody, you end up pleasing nobody. And it's so true. Like, you have to pick and choose, like, who you want to be, who you want your audience to be. Because if you just try to be this, like, cookie, like, this clean cut, like, not ever saying anything polarizing at all, like, people aren't going to actually become fans of you or resonate with what you're saying, you know? So yeah. I do think it's an interesting line. And, like, I think the goal someday is, like, just to be able to really do whatever you want and not have to worry about what people think. Like, I mean, Joe Rogan is the ultimate example. Like, he'll have Elon Musk on his podcast and smoke a joint with him and not think twice about it, right? Because it's just his unique, authentic self. So I think that's something that everybody's got to strive for. And I think, like, the storytelling and the life experiences also are, like, what set people apart. Because let's say, like, there was two guys out there. You, who knows writing very well and can teach it very well and has a ton of life experiences that you share within your newsletter, or person B, who just teaches writing, like, no stories or anything. I'm going to listen to you because it's more interesting. Like, I can relate more. You've done all these things. And, like, that's why I read your newsletter every week. Not because necessarily, like, what it's teaching me, but because it's entertaining and I like it. So I think it's an interesting balance.
Yeah, it's, people are just so scared of what others will think of them. And I've struggled with that in the past, too. And it still comes up at certain times. But it's just, yeah, dude, it's just fucking being vulnerable to certain degrees. And it's true in life too, not even just social media. I mean, if you're just neutral to, say, like, women, like, they're just They're gonna friend zone you. It's like being polarizing and not needing others' approval. I mean, like the needy people are the people that get rejected because you get that sense. It's like, oh, it's really unattractive to a lot of people, and I think that's why it's cool too, because with online business, I mean, if you're self-sufficient, you don't got to worry about what you say online or how you're going to be perceived. I mean, if you can fund your own lifestyle with your skills and leverage, you're good. Like, I can say stupid shit. Like, I can swear on podcast or social media if I want to, and that's because I've become self-sufficient and I don't need people to approve of me. I mean, to a certain degree, I do. I mean, that's my business, my audience, and all that. But no, it's that's why I'm a big proponent of starting your own business. Not everybody should do it, but I think if you are more prone to it, I think you should take the leap and do it.
Totally. And I think a big thing about starting your own business or creating your own thing online is, like, it forces self-improvement upon yourself. Because, like, as you make yourself the business, you have to level up yourself in order to level up the business, which it's kind of an interesting social contract that you put out there. But an interesting thing you said was, like, worrying about what other people think of you. And I know at the start of, like, my journey, which has been very short, but I was so scared about what people thought of me. Like, sending that first email to some of my friends, like, some of them I asked, I'm like, would you want to receive an email from me every Thursday? And some of them are like, no, like, why would you send me that? Or, like, another thing is, like, that first tweet I ever sent out, I was thinking, like, what are all my high school friends going to think of me? What are my old football teammates going to think of me? What are my coaches going to think of me? And then I was like, wait, why do I care? Like, why am I assigning more value on these people's opinions about me than to myself? So I'm curious, like, do your hometown, high school people know about what you're doing, and, like, how have you navigated that?
Dude, it's funny because none of them had me on Twitter because I just never, I don't know, I don't think any of my friends use Twitter, but I grew an audience on Twitter, and when I got to, I don't know, 60,000, 70,000 followers on Twitter, that's when I pivoted to Instagram, where I just used my personal one, so that's where I had all my friends on there. And I never posted on Instagram, like, barely anything. I had 400 followers or something. And then just out of nowhere, I just start posting my Twitter content and just grow. Dude, in 2 months I grew to like 180K on an Instagram. And I think a lot of people are just like, what the fuck is this guy doing? Like, just
right.
Never posts. And then now he's just all of a sudden with, like, all these, like, fucking self-improvement posts or writing posts. It's like, what the hell? Just came out of nowhere. And, yeah, I think a lot of them were probably shocked. I don't know. Some of them, or a few of them, hit me up, and I don't know, that, like, people that just didn't really give me the time of day. And now they're like, oh, he's got a big account now, and they're just, like, kind of like, hey, man, how's it going? I haven't seen you in a while. It's like, dude, fuck off. Like, yeah, I don't know. It's just funny how people treat you different. I never forgot the people that were, I don't know, just thought they were too good for me or stuff like that. I always remember that. And I never forgot the people that were, like, really nice to me. And those are the people I give the time of the day to. Yeah, it's just interesting. But a lot of people, they don't care. I mean, they don't care. They don't care that you're posting content. They don't care if you have a big following. They're just like, oh, that's cool. Whatever. So it's like, yeah, a lot of people just build it up in their head of what others will think of them. And it's just, it's easy to say, oh, just get over it. Like, just don't care. But it's just, you just got, I think at the beginning, yes, you'll get in your head, but you just got to post anyways, because you'll just realize it's not a big deal, but you have to post enough to just get acclimatized to that and just stop giving a fuck. Yeah.
Exactly. I have some high school friends who have talked to me about Twitter, or, like, are interested in starting it, but they're like, yeah, I'll wait, like, a couple months, or, like, I'm not quite ready yet. It's like, dude, just send the first tweet. Like,
and
yeah, really. I mean, that's what just starts everything. Like, once you just do the first one, you're never gonna actually be ready. Like, for this podcast, dude, I was not, like, ready to start this podcast. I was like, I'm just going to do it anyways and, like, figure it out as I go. And what you realize from doing it is, like, all the people ahead of you did the same thing at the start. Like, they just kind of were like, fuck it. So, that fuck it mentality is, like, an interesting one for sure.
Dude.
But what would you say to people? Yeah.
So, that was a big mindset shift I had when I was living with J.K. Molina and Dan Coe. Is they just execute super fast. They'll have an idea one day, same day they're executing on it, and that was something I've struggled a lot with in the past. Is just perfecting. It's just like, oh no, it's got to be perfect. It's got to be perfect, and all blah blah blah. So, no, you just got to do. Okay, for example, this cohort, I fucking sold people into it. I've barely fucking made any of their content. I'm just gonna deliver. Like, I'm obviously gonna do it, but I just gotta stay 1 week ahead of people. I mean, there's like, I was planning on doing this cohort or a type of cohort for months before launching this one. But then I hired coaches like, dude, you just gotta sell this shit and fulfill after, because you don't even know if there's market demand. And I mean, you just need that pressure to actually do shit and put something out. So by having a deadline, no, this cohort starts on the 27th, that's when it's like, okay, I gotta do it. I can't perfect it. I can't waste time procrastinating. I gotta get shit done, because there's people expecting stuff to be ready by that date, and that's just kind of, it's a life hack. I mean, it's kind of like, holy shit, like, but it's also, it's what you need to do. Is you need to sell first, fulfill later, or just post the shitty tweets and then figure it out as you go, because people get caught in that trap and they get fucked over.
Totally. Like, you're never really going to be ready. You have to, like, trick yourself into action is what I've kind of realized that I'm doing. Like, I had this microphone right here and this camera for weeks, and I had never set it up. But once you signed up for my podcast, I'm like, all right, I have no choice. Like, I have to do it. And now from here, I'll use it every single time. But it's like you need those cues to spark you into action. Yeah. And so I feel like at a certain point, you kind of get comfortable with what you're doing. So, like, you're very comfortable writing on Twitter, even going on people's podcasts. I know you were thinking about starting your own podcast. You're obviously doing this coaching, but, like, I don't know, this is out there, but, like, in 5-10 years, like, where do you see yourself? Like, what do you see yourself doing?
Yeah, so I typically go by 1 year. I don't think farther than that, because I think there's so many variables that happen within 1 year. I mean, for some people, yes, like, plan 5-10 years. But for me, I'm just kind of changing with the environment. So, for example, this ChatGPT 3 stuff, I never would have predicted that a year ago. I didn't know that was coming. And that's going to change so much stuff. Really, I don't even know how much it's going to change, but it's going to change the landscape of business as a whole to a dramatic amount, I believe, in the next year. So just kind of, I like to go, like, think 1 year ahead. I'm like, okay, what's the goal? And as new things come up, it's like, okay, this is altering my trajectory for next year. Let's lean into this part, or let's step away from that. So it's just recognizing that there's different variables that are coming into play, and kind of go into that. But generally, I do got a vague idea. I just want to get paid to create. I want to explore my curiosities. I just want to get paid to do it. That's why I'm stepping out of the done for you offer, where I'm ghostwriting for people, because I want to lean towards stuff where I'm teaching, I'm creating my own stuff, and sharing ideas, and just exploring my curiosity. So I know I'll be doing that full time in 5 years, guaranteed. Just creating to get paid, and get paid to do that. But I don't really have any, like, crazy 5-10 year goals. I just know I will be doing what I enjoy, which is creating stuff and exploring that.
Yeah, it's a job or a career that most people would be like, that is not possible at first. Just saying, I'm just going to, like, create stuff about whatever I'm interested in. Like, it sounds so unrealistic, but the thing is, anybody can do it. And the other cool thing about it with the internet is you can do it anywhere in the world. Like, right now, you're in Colombia. Like, you said in a couple weeks you're going to be in Panama. Matt was telling me he's trying to get you to come down to Buenos Aires for Lollapalooza in March. Which I might have to pop out to as well. If we'll see. I might have school, which is another another topic. But
Just drop out. Screw school. Fuck 'em.
see, my parents are probably listening to this right now, and they're gonna kill you. But
That's such a bad mood.
it's not necessarily. I think if circumstances were a bit different, I would. I have about a year left, and I already have my apartment locked up. Like I think I can manage doing both at the same time. Also, like the network of people around me has been really instrumental. Like because I feel like you can get these echo chambers in terms of like Twitter and online stuff, and it's nice to have some people in your life that are like outside of it that just like you for you rather than who you are on social media, which is like an interesting balance. But I know you said you don't have like any set plans on like where you're going to be in 5 years, but I'm curious, like travel wise, like do you see yourself just moving around the world for like the foreseeable future, or do you think like eventually you want to pick a place and stay there?
Yeah, eventually I'll pick a place and stay, but what I plan on doing is finding a few spots, stay there for a couple months, move on to another place whenever I feel like it. But I really like Medellin. It's really nice, but yeah, I think I'll stay here. I'll go to Panama, come back here, stay here, grind for a month or two, and then maybe go to Bali with Taylor. Taylor and I are going to live together, but maybe go to Bali, go to Europe. I don't know, go wherever. But what's very important is, for me, is routine or getting in a flow state. And I find if you're traveling like every 2 days or 4 days, you kind of disrupts that. So that's why I like, okay, let's find a place, stay there for a month, really explore it, see what's up, and just get work done. But no, it's yeah, I plan on traveling quite a bit. I want to go to pretty much every country where I'm not going to die, and just that's the main thing with me. I want to live a life where I have no regrets, where I look back on life and be like, wow, I really lived. I don't have any regrets. I did what I wanted to do, and just kind of die with peace.
Yeah, wow, that's deep. That's deep.
Yeah.
But this art of slow travel is so interesting to me. Like, you could pick a spot for a month or two and like really, really get ingrained in the culture, and then pick up and leave whenever you want. It's fascinating because I never like understood that this could be done. Like before the past couple months, I just assumed like, oh, you stay in one place like kind of your whole life. But it doesn't have to be like that. But I find it interesting that despite all the traveling, you still are so honed in on like routine. So I'm curious, like, what does a day in the life look like for you? Like, are you somebody who's like disciplined as hell, getting up like 5 a.m., or are you kind of like more chill?
Past the week, I've been waking up at 5 a.m. to take calls because I booked so many damn fucking calls for my new offer, and it's just I gotta take. So I've taken like probably 40, 45 in the past 5 days, so it's just calls all day. But yeah, normally a typical day. I mean, back in Canada, I've been traveling a lot lately, so it's been disrupted. But back in Canada, I would wake up around 6 a.m. I would go to a coffee shop till 1 and just work, and then I would eat. Or no, then I would go to the gym. Either eat or go to the gym, and then get back, do whatever I want, and chill out, and then. Yeah, it's interesting. The past two years, I've been just focused on my business and growing on social media, and it's been fun for me. Well, some of it not, but a lot of it, that's like my hobby, is growing a business, growing on social media. I used to game a lot, and I see this as a video game now. Like, you're leveling up different stats to progress to different levels, and those levels present new challenges, and you unlock new rewards for overcoming those, and you get better gear, and then you go to the next level, and I mean, you work with friends to overcome certain challenges. Life is just a video game. It's really the best analogy.
It totally is. And Matt and I were talking about this yesterday on our hike. It's like, damn, we get to go talk about like insane ideas for 5 hours in the woods, and then we get to come back and check our phones and like see all these notifications, and it's like we're literally playing this game that is what we're trying to make our life. Like, I used to be really into NBA 2K, for example, like video games. And you would have to like log on the game and then level up all the time. But when you just shift that video game to being your real life, when you treat your life as a video game, like you could always be leveling up in so many different categories too. Like it doesn't just have to be Twitter. It could be like in the gym, you could be leveling up in your diet, in your relationships. So like gamifying your life is such a cool concept.
Yeah, it's super powerful. It becomes a lot more fun, and I mean that's what I'm doing with the cohort too. Is I don't know if I told you about that. I don't know if I came up with the idea after, but the community is going to have. I'm going to give different challenges and separate people into groups, and then the group that does the best or whatever, they'll get access to a prize pool where I'm going to give like a fucking MacBook Air and the AirPod Pros and stuff, like where people can choose stuff. Pineapple pizza is going to get delivered to some people's address. It'll be it's kind of a meme, but it'll be fun. I'm a big
Another polarizing topic. It's so funny, like having these little niche things that you just say as a joke and people get so mad. Like, do people ever like get really pissed at you in the comments?
Oh,
like,
dude, Instagram's hilarious. Twitter, they're chill. Instagram, people get pissed about whatever. I posted a list with pineapple pizza in the middle, like a serious list, and I put pineapple pizza in the middle just to fuck with people. And I've had people like, I was enjoying this post, and then I saw him make a joke about pineapple pizza. Fuck this guy. Like, actually, like, this guy's a joke. Like, what this guy's so full of shit. I just laugh. I'm like, oh my god, like, chill.
It's like, how do you take it seriously? Like, I put some like bullshit tweet out about like a white monster a day keeps the doctor away.
I saw
some
that,
stupid shit. And some dude commented, or I don't know what he said, like drinking Monster, drinking energy drinks is not very stoic of you. Like, getting extraneous energy is not stoic. It's like, dude, like, it's a joke. Like, chill.
Yeah.
Like,
people are going to stick up their ass. It's like, chill out.
It's funny.
What I've noticed, that the people that are just leaving those comments or hating on you, they don't like themselves. I remember when I was a fat kid, I was an asshole to some kids when I didn't like myself at all. And that was me trying to make myself feel better by pulling others down. And, I mean, I get a fair amount of hate on Instagram. There's just a lot of miserable people out there, and I feel bad for them, to be honest, because I know it's not a reflection of me. It's a reflection of how much they don't like themselves, and I kind of feel bad. I don't take them seriously anymore. The beginning, I was trying to defend myself, but I just realized that they just don't like themselves a lot, and I kind of feel bad. But I also troll them because I just get a laugh out of it. But you can't take those people seriously.
Right, and it's another example of like, stop worrying so much about what other people are thinking of you, because most people don't even like themselves that are talking shit on social media. Like, that's what you got to keep in perspective. So you just got to have that internal awareness and like that confidence in what you're doing, to where like external opinions don't matter. And that's another thing that I've heard a bit from people like 10 steps ahead of me, like in the creator game, in terms of like, you have to detach from both the positive and the negative comments. You can't like get so worked up with a negative comment. Like, if you assign meaning to somebody praising you and you're like basking in the praise, you also by nature have to care about the negative comment too. And the negative comment hits a lot harder than the positive comment. One negative comment will cancel out 100 positive comments. But if you could just detach from all that and just focus like on the inputs and like on what you're doing, like, I think that's the key.
Yeah, that's something I've been doing a lot more of lately. I not by design, but I just get so many comments now. I just don't really read much anymore, and so many the message has been crazy. But I feel bad because I want to respond to people, but there's just so much to respond to. And trying to run a business and create content, it takes away from why they're commenting. So like, you get so much engagement at some point, and if I was to respond to everybody, that would take away from the content, and that's the stuff that resonates with people and gets them to connect with you in the first place. So it's just, there's a certain point where you just kind of got to detach from, okay, how many comments am I getting? What are they saying? Do they like it? All that. You just got to post. But yeah, no, I resonate with that. I think it's something every content creator will face at a certain point if they stick with it long enough.
Yeah, I think JK says it. He's like, post and assume nobody's going to see it. And that has been like a cool framework that I'm trying to live by.
Yeah, that's... It's a double-edged sword, too, because, I mean, so, for example, when I was first growing on Twitter, I grew by 750 followers in 3 months. And then I saw a person grow by 1,000 followers in 30 days. And that's what caused me to reflect on my account, because I was just posting general self-improvement, philosophy, broad topics. And it wasn't until I looked at him, I'm like, okay, what's the difference between his account and my account? Well, he's providing value in copywriting. I'm tweeting about general principles and just being broad. And then I changed to a writing account, and that's when I saw my numbers go up. And that's when I was like, oh, there's something here. So I agree you should not care about the outcome or as much, but I think it's also it provides valuable data. Because if you're just hitting your head against the wall or waiting for the thing to break, well, I mean, you can hit it all day, but if it's not going to break. So that's why you got to be smart about it and realize, okay, is this the right direction? Am I making meaningful progress? And just kind of contextualizing it, because it's not black or white, where you just post every day and just don't give a fuck. There's a certain element of that, but also just reflecting, am I going in the right direction here? Is this working? Because if I just kept posting the general broad self-improvement stuff, sure, it might have worked eventually, but I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. So it's just being able to like reflect on things and knowing where to allocate fucks. That's the sauce, is knowing when to allocate fucks, where to allocate it, and who to allocate it to. You can quote me on that.
That's a great framework. You got to write a tweet about that or something.
Yeah.
I like that. Know where to allocate your fucks. Well, obviously you've like grown a ton in the past year, and like you have like 170K on Twitter, like 190K on Instagram. So like those are pretty crazy numbers. I'm curious, have you ever had a moment where like somebody's recognized you in real life? Like has anybody come up to you on the street and been like, holy shit, like you're Dakota Robertson? And I'm like, what was that like?
Yeah, in Austin, Texas, I had it happen twice. One at the same coffee shop. Shout out to Manana Coffee Shop on South Congress. Love your guys' place. But I would go there and work every day, and one day a guy came up to me, probably in his 20s, and he's like, hey, are you Dakota Robertson? I had never seen this guy in my life. I was like, yeah. What? And he's, oh, dude, I follow you on Twitter. And I was just like, what the fuck? Like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Maybe it was Instagram. I don't know. So that was one moment. That was crazy. And then another day I was at the coffee shop, and it's like a shared table. And right across from me, this guy had a bunch of Russell Brunson books. And I was like, oh, that's cool. He's in online business and all that. But we were sitting at the table for a few hours, and then came back from the bathroom, and he's like, hey, this is a weird question, but is your name Dakota? I was like, yeah, why? He's like, oh man, I follow you on Instagram. I was like, what the fuck? Like, it's crazy.
That is crazy.
Yeah, that was one of those times where I stopped and was like, holy shit, like this is actually, that's nuts that people recognize you.
Yeah.
That happened with Dan Coe when we were living together in Austin. We were out at a bar or something, and he got recognized. And it's interesting because I think that's the start of, you're starting to see where there might be challenges in the future or something. I don't know yet the implications, but people might stop. Like 10 years from now, it'd be like at a few million followers, and then that might present a new set of challenges. Maybe I don't know. I don't know how far this is going to go, or what will entail. But yeah, it's all part of the game, I guess. We signed up for it.
Yeah, I think it's something that you'll just have to figure out as you go, because at first, like, growing your following, like getting an audience, is what's making you money. It's what's giving you freedom, but at what cost? Because eventually, like, too much of a following might take away that freedom, where you can't even go out. I mean, obviously, that's like a whole nother level. But I was listening to Naval on Joe Rogan yesterday, and he was like, "You want to be rich and anonymous, not poor and famous." And I was like, "Damn, that's interesting." And Hamza is another YouTuber who I'm like pretty into recently, and he was on Mike Thurston's podcast, and he was talking about like, what do you want to be doing like in 10 years? Because he has this like 1.5 million subscriber audience growing like crazy, and he's like, I want to just like leave my YouTube channel as a relic and like make a ton of money, retire my family, and go live out like in the woods, like at 35, and just like raise my family and go completely off the grid. And it's like, that's such an interesting end game, especially for somebody who is growing so much on social media, that he has this in perspective.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. I don't see myself
your
doing
interest?
That. No, I don't see myself doing that. I'm in this for life, I think. Maybe not YouTube. I want to get into YouTube, but just writing or sharing on a consistent basis. I would like to, I don't know, do something where it's low maintenance or not a lot of effort. Or it's effort, but it's something I enjoy doing. I feel like YouTube's a lot of work. Maybe, I don't know. I haven't done it, so I'll see. But just something where I can share my thoughts. I don't have to worry about a certain schedule or doing whatever. But I don't know. We'll see. I'll see when it gets there. But I plan on doing this for life.
Yeah, and there's another like theory floating around there that like the future of creative work for people like yourself is going to be like, you work in sprints. So you'll work for like 2-3 months, and then you'll completely like disappear for a couple months, like have some crazy life experiences, read a ton, get new ideas, and then you come back and you grind for 3 months, and you kind of like repeat that cycle over and over. So I think it's going to be interesting, like what the future of working really looks like, especially like obviously with AI, automation. Like, I wonder what's going to be happening even for creators too.
Yeah, that's why I'm very encouraging of people to lean into their personality, their story, all of that, because that's harder to replicate. I'm sure it'll get there where there'll just be all these different types of personalities of AI, but I mean, for the meantime, that's what's going to separate you from a lot of people. And like the people that have built their audience and built the trust now, those people are going to win. But then there's going to be the future of creators where you're not going to know if this is AI or if this is a person. And I'm sure there'll be ways to verify with blockchain or something. But it's going to be interesting. But the people that have already built that trust and where they know the brand, I think that's where they'll get the bulk of the market share. But I don't know. I'm curious where this leads.
Yeah, same. I feel like the summary, the takeaway is like, there's literally no downside to creating a personal brand right now. You might not know exactly what it is you want to do. Like, I thought I was going to be a fitness coach when I first got on here, and I know you did too. You said you had a fitness client. It's just crazy because, like, at first, you're, like, running around like you're chicken with your head cut off. Like, you don't know what exactly you're doing. But over time, if you just stay in the game, you figure it out as you learn more about yourself too, which I think is huge. But like your personal brand is something that it's going to follow us for the rest of our lives. Like you're going to be 80 years old looking back and be like, damn, like I posted some crazy shit on Twitter when I was 24 years old. But at the same time, it's a brand that you can build your entire life, and it's going to be like a story following us our whole life, which I think is so cool. I think we're so blessed to have that.
What's crazy to me is to think there's going to be generational influencers and creators. Like they're going to hand down the accounts from generation to generation, and that's really interesting to me because that's so much leverage. If you have millions of followers, then you hand that to your kids, they're set for life. I mean, you teach them how to do it. It's like the family business, you know. So that's what's interesting to me. And there's going to be people that just win the game at a certain point. Like once you get to a few million followers, your family's set for life as long as they don't fuck it up. I don't know. It's interesting. And like the generations Like the people that follow, say, Mr. Beast, are they going to raise their kids to watch that content? And will there be generations of following other generations? So that's interesting too.
Yeah, that is trippy to think about. Like in the past, before media and code, like you could pass down leverage through like a business or through money, or through your family name. But now with this, like you could pass down this leverage in the most the biggest distribution possible, because you already have the following built. It's so interesting. But you do bring up a good point, like as long as you don't fuck it up. And that's the thing about like building a personal brand behind your own name. Like if you wrong people or you cheat people, like you're screwing yourself for the rest of your life. So that's why like being accountable and being honest and just being a good person, I feel like in general is such an underrated thing on here.
Yeah, I mean, think about Hitler. Like that name's ruined.
Right.
Imagine carrying that family name.
Yes.
So that's kind of an extreme example, but I mean a good example. Or Bernie Madoff. Imagine having the last name Madoff. Like it's just your reputation's everything, and that's always been something I've really prioritized over money, especially. Just not like I've gotten a lot of offers to pay me money to promote a product or content, and I just like, no, I'm not interested, because either I don't use the product, I don't feel comfortable promoting that, or I don't know, just I don't know. I value my reputation over everything.
Yeah, totally, because it takes years to build, but it takes literally one wrong move to lose your reputation, which is it's scary, but it does hold you accountable to like be your best self and be good to others too.
Yeah, I mean, there's a guy who posted screenshots of his Stripe on Twitter, and there's like an error with it or something wrong, and someone pointed it out, and now that guy's he's just clowned on Money Twitter, and he's just out.
Yeah,
you're out, and because you used your name, you're fucked now. You're forever that guy. But it's also, I mean, the other direction. Like, it builds incredible leverage. I know Naval mentioned that, the building with your name. And yes, there's a lot of risk with it, or you're bearing a lot of responsibility, not even risk. But you also bear the reward. So it's a double-edged sword, and I believe the people that are building a personal brand and actually have integrity, they're going to be the ones that win long term.
Agreed, 100%. And you mentioned Naval there, so I wanted to ask one more question, because it's something that's like pretty important to me. I think about this a lot. Who are the main people you look up to at this point in your life right now? Like, who do you take a lot of influence from?
Yeah, so I try not to put my focus everywhere, but Naval, Alex Ramosi, and those are the main ones, I think, because they've achieved a lot, and they've overcome a lot, and they're people I highly respect, and I love the way they articulate themselves. There's other people like I take inspiration from, and I listen to, and all of that. But I think those are the main ones. I think those are like the boss levels, final boss levels.
Yeah.
But yeah, I learned something from everybody. I mean, even yourself, like some of the stuff you said on this podcast. Like I've learned stuff, or I've had different perspective shifts, and I think it's not just like a one size fits all, but just taking bits of information from everywhere and understanding that there isn't one person that holds all the answers, or even if there's someone's behind you in certain areas doesn't mean they know more. They don't know more than you in other areas. So it's just always having that open personality and seeing stuff. But I mean, in terms of Twitter, Cold Emo Wizard, big influence. Andre from Klein Ascension, big influence. Dan Coe, J.K. Molina, Oliver Canton, David Hobson, Zach Proganov. A lot of people. Those are the big ones I respect a lot, and I respect what they say, and I like their brand, and and what they have to say, and I don't. There's certain aspects I like to pull from, like, oh, I like that about their brand. I want to incorporate more of that into mine, and yeah, it's cool. I like it.
Yeah, I think we could take bits of inspiration from so many people, but I think some people get caught up in, and I do too, like thinking everybody has, like one person has all the answers, or like one person is all right, or one person is all wrong. But in reality, I think you could take a lot of bits and pieces from a lot of people. Like, even somebody as controversial as Andrew Tate, like, there's a lot of what he says that has, like, significantly improved my life in terms of, like, being a man and, like, being disciplined and, like, working when you don't feel like it. But at the same time, like, there are some things he says that I wouldn't necessarily agree with. But I don't have to, like, be so ideological and, like, love somebody or hate somebody. You can take wisdom from so many people. And I think it's so important. That's
one of the biggest things I've noticed with the most intelligent people I know is they can hold an idea in their head and they can agree with some things but not others, and they don't pick sides. Like the stupidest people I know, they're ideological based, or I don't know, I'm gonna go with that. I'm gonna walk that answer in. That's fucking funny. But they're set in their ways, and they're like, you're either with me or you're against me. Like you're either liberal or you're wrong, or you're either conservative or you're wrong. And those are the people that are fucking stupid, to be honest. Because the world is not black and white. The world is gray. And to think that a certain idea or person knows everything is just, it's crazy. Because there's more than one way to do something, typically with everything. So just recognizing that, like, that's huge.
Yeah, it's like this tribalistic element that we still hold from, like, our primitive days, because now we're not fighting in wars, but we want to, like, feel like we're a part of a group, part of a team, and we want to feel like there's an enemy. So, like, if you identify really hard with, like, the Republican Party or the Democratic Party, like, you're going to hate the other party. But once you can kind of, like, step out of that game, because it's like a status game or a hierarchical game, once you step out of that game, you can see it for what it is. You're like, oh, wait, there's actually, like, very valid ideas on all sides.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
I think that's,
but I want to ask one more question before...
Sorry, there's a delay.
Yeah, I want to ask one more question before we hop off. No, you're all good. I was going to say, so you talk a lot about, like, being a Chad. Like, what the hell is a Chad? Like, what does it mean to be a Chad?
Dude, I don't even know, to be honest. I just say it because I think it's funny. It's a meme. But, I mean, a general idea, Chad is, they look like a meathead, but... They're based. It's different to everybody. There's no. I got flack for making a tweet about, like, look like a Chad or something, like lift like Schwarzenegger, think like a stoic, or like all that, and then at the end, just as a joke, look like a Chad. And, like, people got offended about that on Instagram. It's like, you shouldn't say those things, like, you're causing a lot of distress. It's like, chill out, like, goddamn, that's not Chad energy. But no, it's mainly a meme. Like, a lot of people. A lot of people are just, I don't know. Like, people look at me and they're like, oh, he's a meathead or whatever. So I just play into it. Yeah, I'm a Chad. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's funny. I don't know. Chad's just someone maybe fit. They're based with how they view the world, and it's almost like a meme at a point. Like, oh, he's a Chad, like, you know. But I use it as a compliment. I kind of, like, flip it. But I don't even know what it means, to be honest. I just use it as a meme. I think it's funny as hell. Like, yeah, he's some, like, fit, decent-looking guy that just has these just based opinions. I don't know. Stupid. It's so stupid. I love it. It's so dumb.
No, exactly. The funniest things are the things that just make absolutely no sense. But we know what we're saying. We just can't describe it. It's funny.
Yeah. I had this chick try to, like, troll me Thought of some social justice warrior chick tried to troll me. She's like, "Yeah, bro," like just replying to me, like saying "bro" a lot, and I was just laughing, like, "Yeah, bro, yeah, but chat." I love it.
Yeah, it's like elementary school all over again. It's just people are just older now, but they still act like children. It's so funny.
Yeah,
it's so funny.
It's a meme.
Yeah. Well, sweet dude. I think this is a great place to end it off. I appreciate you taking the time. This was funny as hell. I also learned a lot too, so I really appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you having me on, man, and I think it's really cool what you're doing. I respect the hell out of it, and it's cool, man. Just seeing the cycle of things and like where I'm at now, like where you're at now reminds me a lot of where I was, and then to think about where you're going to be in a year and who you're going to inspire and the lives you can change. That's really cool, and I love that a lot. So, man, I'm really stoked to be working with you and kind of share what I've learned along the way, and have you drop out of school. Sorry, mom and dad. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get you to like 20-30K a month, and then you're gonna drop out. So,
hey, we'll see what happens. I mean, we'll have to talk a lot more about that.
Yeah. But
sick, dude. I appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Well, all right. Thanks for everybody listening, and yeah, I'm just gonna end this.